chicken nuggets, breakfast cereal, and chips. If my son doesn't want to eat anything else, he doesn't have to.
r/EntitledParents. Our first story we'll be reading today. Found out my friend is 100% an entitled parent last weekend. Worst weekend of my life. From user Free the P. After that, I see why your husband left you. From user Graceful Klutz. After that, entitled mom's kid claims my bike light blinded him. Entitled mom threatens to call the police. From user Purple Wolf 2000. And then we'll be wrapping up with entitled people. Cheerful employee 1. Entitled assistant manager 0. From user Coffee Beans Rock 979. Thank you so much to our authors for letting us read your stories. And if you're an author who would like me to read your stories next, please submit them to the r/Mr. Reddit subreddit. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. Found out my friend is 100% an entitled parent last weekend. Worst weekend of my life. Last weekend, my friends and I decided to go camping for a break. There were 7 of us planning to go, and 3 of them had kids and were keen for a break. A few hours before we were set to head off on Friday, one of my friends says she is unable to find someone to look after her 9-year-old son and says she's bringing him. We weren't particularly keen on that, but we felt bad saying she couldn't come, so we just let her bring him. To avoid everyone bringing a car, we just take 2 and agree that whoever is in each car will split petrol costs. She brings her own car with just her and her son. This becomes relevant later. We had never met her son, but we learned very quickly he is spoiled and quite frankly a nightmare to be around because she lets him do whatever he wants. From here on, I'll refer to her as entitled parent and him as spoiled kid and give a few examples of the crap she pulled. He eats, almost exclusively, cereal, chips, and chicken nuggets. He has a tantrum if you even offer anything outside of that, so we learned quickly not to try to get a real meal in him. We spent a day at the lake. She had his chips and nuggets ready, but he decides he wants cereal for lunch. She wanted us to all leave because we obviously didn't bring milk to the lake. Entitled parent demands one of us to go get milk for her boy, and when we say no, spoiled kid starts screaming, and then she yells over him,
"Look what you've done to my baby boy!"
When she sees we are still not getting milk for her, she runs to her car and drives off, leaving us with spoiled kid, who is still screaming. She's gone for over an hour and comes back with milk and says,
"Sorry, I needed a break from your negative attitudes. He picks up on those vibes, and that's why he's been screaming."
She then demands we split the cost of her petrol for going out to get milk, saying,
"If you lot hadn't had been so stubborn and cruel to me and spoiled kid, then I wouldn't have had to drive all that way."
We all just said no and got into our cars. I have mental health issues, which I take medication for, morning and night. Spoiled kid wanted to play with them because they are different colors and shapes, and I had brought them in my weekly packs, so they were all separated, and I guess he thought they were candy or toys. I don't know. I explained to him that they were dangerous, not candy, and that it was important medicine. Because I didn't trust him not to try to grab them, I moved them from my bag to the car. That night, I go to grab my meds and I can't find them. I ask around, and everyone says entitled parent had been in the car last, so I go to ask her if she had moved or had seen them. Her and her son are on a mat, and I am horrified to see him playing with all of my pills. I rush over and take them all, asking her what the heck he is doing. To which she just says,
"He wanted to play with them. He knows not to eat them."
I take them all and tell her there is something wrong with her if she thinks letting her kid play with medication is no big deal. When he starts screaming that he wants them back, she tries to pull them off me, and starts yelling that I am evil and trying to be mean to her son. I am bigger than her, so I just push her off me, and they're both on the mat screaming while I thank God that was our last night there, so I didn't have to suffer much longer. We had agreed to stay at a campsite in our tents. We had 2 tents, big enough for all of us, and all figured it was cheap as heck to just share tents and cook food over a little gas stove. Entitled Parent decided to get a little unit because they come with a small oven, and Spoiled Kid only likes frozen nuggets oven-baked, not pan-fried. We told her that was a lot of money just to bake his nuggets, and she said it's fine. Then, at the end of our weekend, she tried adding her unit to the costs we were splitting. We were baffled. None of us had spent any time in the unit or used the facilities it had, so we didn't understand why she would think that it should be split. We refused, and she lost it at reception, saying we should have known she'd need units for me and my baby. We refused to pay and walked out while she cried at reception until they told her to pay or they'd call the police. And on top of it all, she emailed us an invoice with the money we owed her. Because we had split the costs of food, petrol, and accommodation, she had decided that her costs too should be split, and split the costs of her son's food, the unit she stayed in, the petrol she had used, and a fee that she claimed would show we were remorseful for the way you treated my boy this weekend. He is a miracle and should be treated as such. I emailed her back and told her I wouldn't be paying a cent, and that as far as I'm concerned, our friendship is over. The others said something similar. She posted a status saying she is glad she cut ties with a group of child haters. I used to be confused as to how she was single, as she is quite beautiful, and I thought lovely. I thought her baby daddy was insane for leaving her. Now I know he was saving himself. Next we've got, I see why your husband left you. Apparently, I have a story. I think this won't be too long, I hope. I was talking last night with coworkers about dumb things we did as kids and brought up those little colored flags that we stuck in the ground that we all snagged a couple of and waved around like mad. At least in the US. I don't know if there's anything similar to the flags elsewhere. Reminded me of something that happened a while ago. These little colored flags are markers for underground wires and pipes, various colors for various things like water pipes, gas lines, electrical wires, and all that fun, dangerous stuff. And they are essentially so diggers have an idea where to and where not to dig so they don't hit dangerous stuff and, seriously hurt themselves. I didn't know this until I was in high school. So, a friend, her mother, her 4-year-old daughter, and I were walking around her apartment complex a while ago. Her daughter had just had her birthday, but I was busy and couldn't come to the party, but I made time to deliver my gift in person a few days after and to play with the little goober because I love her. Amy, Barb, and Rose, respectively, all fake names, of course. Amy's husband, Juan, was in the hospital at this time because he, the day of his daughter's birthday, started having pains and, gallbladder attack with a side of annoying complications. But Amy's mom, she's very much an entitled grandma. Barb always tries to go around Amy to do things for Rose and spoil her for absolutely no reason. But she does this behind Amy's back and then goes and tells Rose, "Mama doesn't want to do this for you, so I have to." Or some BS like that. It's definitely put a strain on their relationship. Barb is a snowbird. In Florida 1/2 the year, and back in Indiana for the other half. This happened in April, so it was getting time for her to go back to Indiana. So, like I said, we're all walking around her complex. Rose going nuts about the ducks. She loves birds. Amy and I catching up, because we hadn't seen each other in several months at that point. Barb was just kind of sulking in the back. She invited herself over that day, and Amy wasn't very happy that she just barged. They don't have a fantastic relationship if you can't tell. So, I'm telling Amy about some entertaining drama going on at work. She used to work with me. When Rose runs up with one of those flags in her hand. Mama, Aunt Grace, look what I found. Oh, honey, you shouldn't be playing with those, I said, and Rose kind of deflated. Why? They're pretty. I know they are, but they need to stay where you found these, Amy said. At that point, I could feel Barb walking up on us. Can you show me where you found it? I asked, and she nodded, grabbing my hand and pulling me 3 feet away from a tree. Sure enough, there are many of those little flags. I kneel in front of her. Do you know why those flags are there? She shook her head. You know how when you go to the beach, you dig in the sand to make a sandcastle, right? And you're digging and digging. When you hit a sharp shell that would hurt you if it was in your hand and not your little shovel? Well, that's kind of what these flags are for. When they dig here, they might dig and hit something that will hurt them, even with their shovel. These little flags let them know where something is that could hurt them. So if you take one and move it away, they might not know where they can get hurt. Rose looked absolutely flabbergasted and then got sad. I don't want anyone to get hurt, she said, and I pulled her into a hug. I know, and that's why I'm telling you this now. I didn't know about it until I was almost out of school. She sniffles a little and nods, and we walk back. But Barb walks up on me, and I nearly walk into her.
Don't you tell my daughter how to parent.
She seethed at me. I didn't. I just stare at her, telling Rose to go back to Amy, who was within earshot anyway.
You're making my daughter look like a bad mom. How dare you tell Rose she could hurt someone? Those stupid flags don't mean anything.
I almost said something calm and reasonable back, but then it struck me, and I had an idea. Your ex-husband did construction, didn't he? Amy's dad?
So what?
She snapped.
That doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Guess you didn't care about his safety, if you think those flags don't mean anything. I see why he left you. I see Amy stifle a laugh with her hand over Barb's shoulder. I guess it had been a while since anyone called her out because she was shocked. Barb stormed off back to Amy's apartment and was gone by the time we walked back. I enjoyed the rest of the day playing with Rose, playing dress-up, and drinking wine with Amy that evening after Rose went to bed. Juan's back and recovered now, if anyone's wondering, and Amy and Barb have been on minimum communication since, because Barb hasn't apologized for coming at me. Honestly, I don't care. Seeing her face made it absolutely worth it. She and her dad still talk on the phone every other day. The story about how her parents split up is also a decent story for this sub, but I don't want to post it without her permission. I'll see if I can ask though. Next we've got Entitled Mom's Kid Claims My Bike Light Blinded Him. Entitled Mom Threatens to Call the Police. English is my first language. I'm on mobile, so sorry for any weird formatting. Context. So, I live by a few bike trails, and I enjoy taking evening bike rides in the summer while the weather is cool. I usually leave around 8 to 9 and head back around 10 to 11ish, depending on the trail I take. I always make sure I have my reflective tape on my bike as well, as a front and rear light. My front light is a bit brighter than my rear light, but not enough to blind anyone. Cast. We've got Entitled Mom. We've got Dramatic Kid. And me, your nighttime cyclist. On to the story. So one night I was biking home on one of those trails. I was about 20 minutes away from my house, and it was later, around 10:40, so I cut off the trail and went along some subdivision streets. As I was biking, I saw a short figure walking with a taller figure. Only one side of the street was lit, so I wasn't able to see much other than just dark moving blobs until they came into the light of my front bike light. These figures turned out to be our Dramatic Kid and Entitled Mom. As soon as the kid came into the light of my bike, he started to yell.
Ah! Mommy, I can't see.
What the? You! Put that light out!
Me, slowing my bike and tilting my light down. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think it was that bright. My apologies.
Excuse me? What do you mean you didn't think it would be bright? It's a light! Now you have hurt my child's eye. Why do you even have a light?
I'm sorry it hurt his eyes. I need the light so I can see, and so others can see me. Plus, it's the law that cyclists must have lights on after dark.
Nighttime is for the dark. Just bike during the day. Then you won't need to blind innocent children. Mommy, it hurts!
The dramatic kid then closes his eyes and starts to stumble walk around like a drunken zombie. He started to stumble towards me and my bike, and I tried to back out of the way, but he was too fast and caught his toe on the wheel of my bike and fell. I tried to catch him, but that proved difficult as I was still holding up my bike. The entitled mom shrieked and ran to her son, like 5 steps, and scooped him up.
How dare you! First you blind my son, then you trip him? Is this what you do for fun? I'm reporting you to the police for harassment and disturbing the peace.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, but your kid did that to himself. It's getting way too late to be out, and I'm going home with my light on. Goodbye. I got on my bike and biked off, hearing her yell after me.
Turn off your light, you jerk!
I don't know if she didn't call the police or not, but either way, I'm still continuing to bike with my light on at night and have never gotten a complaint. So, confused emoji. And our final story of the day. Entitled People, Cheerful Employee 1, Entitled Assistant Manager 0. Long-time listener here. This may fit Tales from Retail, but it not being about a customer, I'll put it here. Cast. We've got the employee, which is me. We've got entitled assistant manager, which is the jerk. And we've got the store manager, Mrs. S. I worked at a store in Florida that started with initials. I loved the job and the interaction with the retired, somewhat well-off people who bought slightly imperfect things at a way lower price. I had worked in several departments before being permanently put in jewelry. I worked at the counter and kept the handbag section clean when there were no customers. For the first year there, things were great. The store manager and assistants under her were the best to work for. Only one got snappy when stressed, but we all knew she meant well. Then came the entitled jerk of an assistant manager. He had been transferred down from Chicago and hated the heat. I myself was from Wisconsin and loved the warm winters, but apparently he would rather freeze his butt off in January. Whatever, cranky jerk. He never smiled, and I mean never. Not even on his birthday. His greeting was a growl, and he hated helping anyone if it meant leaving the office. No one liked him, and we all wished he'd get transferred back up north, which he did after I left. He did not like me. I knew it from the start and tried to avoid him. He yelled at me for having a bottle of water in a cart of things I was taking back to another department and didn't care that I was pregnant and needed to drink plenty of water, per my doctor. He didn't notice the chocolate bunny head in the cart next to the water, so he wasn't the sharpest tack in the box. His entitlement hit the fan one night in July. It was hot. Several people had called out, and he was earning the nickname Jack Donkey very quickly. I was 8 months pregnant and doing my usual watch the counter while cleaning up the purses, and it looked okay to other managers. To him, it wasn't good enough. I wasn't moving fast enough for him, and he decided to yell at me right after the doors were locked after closing. He wanted to be out in 30 minutes, and I needed to hurry. The bags on the floor wouldn't pick themselves up, and I should have started cleaning much earlier in the shift. Crap like that. I sat on the floor trying to ignore him and clean, and he then asked me what I had to say for myself. I almost told him where to go, how to get there, how to greet the devil, and how long to stay. Instead, I cried, hard, sobbing. Everyone could hear me. He walked away in silence as if he had won. The next day I opened, I went straight to the store manager, Mrs. S, and told her everything that had gone on that night. With me, the other employees, all of it. She was shocked. I was a level-headed person, so this incident was so unlike me that she knew it wasn't the hormones talking. She called him in, and the following conversation took place. "Jerk, what happened last night?"
3 people called out. This store was busy, and I was trying to keep everything together. I had to run 2 departments and my manager duties.
I know how stressful that is, but it happens sometimes. Why did you yell at employee?
She didn't have her section cleaned up on time and was not moving as fast as she should have been. We all wanted to leave.
I say, the service desk still had things to be put back, and the registers were being emptied. We were not even close to being done. I was so far beyond done at this point. So, you yelled at her? What was that going to accomplish? She's pregnant, so she can't move as fast as you can. She is a good worker and does her best. What is your problem with her?
I was under a lot of stress last night.
And?
She's too cheerful.
Yes, he really said that. So, you don't like her because she's too cheerful? Get over it. You both work here, and she gets along fine with everyone else. Figure out how to get along with her, and apologize to her for last night. It was uncalled for, and will not happen again. We both left the office, and I kid you not, he did not speak to me for 2 weeks unless the store manager was around. He would not make eye contact either. He never yelled like that again, and when I went on maternity leave to have my daughter, the store manager did everything she could to convince me not to quit and stay home to take care of my baby. I didn't go back because hubby and I had decided I would stay home, but I loved and still love going back to that store every time we visit my in-laws. Feel free to post this in a video. I have an entitled parent story to share later that would benefit from your many voices as well. And congrats to our re-generals of the day. Ben B 19000, Spike Shadow, WR Girly 86, JB Moneybag, and Corsi Husky. You know what to do. Become our next re-generals by dropping as many reads as you can in the comments below. That's all for now, but don't be blue. I'll be back soon with more stories for you. Remember to listen to Mr. Reddit every night so your dreams will be wonderful like you are and bright.